What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Friday edition of the NBA Slate Starter Podcast. I'm Eric, joined with my buddy Ryan as we break down the 8-game NBA DFS slate on DraftKings and FanDuel. A lot of injuries tonight. We had Kristaps Porzingis, Jakar Sampson, but really kind of the biggie, Giannis Antetokounmpo for me. I was well over the field on both sites. Sad times, not enjoyable. Rimpak, how's your night going?
Yeah, it was a lot of injuries came out, and especially Porzingis really put a damper over there on FanDuel. He ended up grading out to be a pretty solid play, all things put together. That's disappointing. Injuries are part of the game, and I was on the bad side of that. But over there on DraftKings, Kevin Durant was sensational. Shout out to Alize Johnson for putting up 50-plus fantasy points.
Yeah, 0.1% ownership too. That was a play I wish I was on. I'm not even gonna lie. That's just kind of the way DFS is here in the late season. Everybody kind of comes in play at a certain point with no Kyrie, I guess, and maybe a mistake on the public's part, on my part. But either way, he's pretty good when he gets minutes, so that was fun to watch. Anywho, get down to that bottom bar, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. You know what to do. We're going live here. We want to just let you guys know about MonkeyKnifeFight.com, our presenting sponsor. Per usual, head over there now, use the promo code Awesemo, get $100 first deposit match bonus. First deposit match bonus. Yeah, I said that correctly. There we go. Head on over there. Try out their NBA prop games. It's phenomenal, some of the value you can get on that stuff. MLB, NHL, MMA. They offer it for everything. Multipliers on your money, depending on how risky you want to be. But also, there's just some really good data that we have at Awesemo.com. And if you combine that and put it to use over on MonkeyKnifeFight.com, I promise you can find some success over there on their games. So head over there. Stop guessing, start winning. But definitely try out Monkey Knife Fight today. Rinpak, are you ready to break down this 8-gamer, my dude?
Let's ride.
Oh, I love hearing you say that. It's been a day, in a good way. It's been a good day except for injuries and such. But Russell Westbrook on an island again, $11,000 on the top end on DraftKings. Then you have Harden out, Fox out, James out, Mitchell out, Kyrie. We'll see if he ends up coming back. It said that he was going to be out. He's got right groin soreness. We'll see if he ends up playing or not. Obviously would have interest at 9,400. He'd be your next listed point guard. Trae Young ends up questionable coming into tomorrow, which could throw a wrench into things in terms of Atlanta value because we have Bogdanovic, who ended up sitting last time out. Horder's already been ruled out. A lot of interesting stuff coming for that Atlanta game. However, a bad matchup against Philly. Probably wouldn't need to go to Trae Young at 9,300, but an option. And lastly, let's put Damian Lillard in there, 9,200. Portland's just played so good the last two, blown teams out of the water, and so Damian Lillard's price tag keeps coming down a little bit on DraftKings, but we already know ahead of time FanDuel's probably where we're going to pull the trigger on him at $8,000. Talk to me about the top end of point guard.
Yeah, top end of point guard led by Russ. Russ is just cooking. Russ is doing everything. He's been absolutely sensational in terms of fantasy points perspective. Now taking on a Cleveland matchup where he struggled a couple games ago over the weekend. Where he only put up 40 fantasy points in 36 minutes. But man, that box score has been something. You got to love Russ yet again, just because he's on this pretty ridiculous run of triple doubles again. He's gonna be really close to breaking that record this regular season. So Russ wants it. Russ is balling. But pivoting to guys like Kyrie Irving in a matchup versus Portland, gonna take your chances there, but really tough to fade Russ the way he's been playing. Other guys, Kyrie, like I said, 94, 9,800 on DraftKings and FanDuel respectively. Dame Lillard, $8,000, man. Sign me up yet again. The matchup versus Brooklyn is what makes me really excited for Dame Lillard. Probably wants to show up. Show those Brooklyn guys up. It's gonna be a fun guard matchup. I like them both, but I think I prefer Lillard because I think his ownership will be lower.
I didn't hear that last name. You said it cut out for 1 second.
Oh, I said Lillard's ownership will be, I think, lower than Kyrie, so I'd be willing to take my chances on Lillard.
Okay, yeah, over on FanDuel, I don't think that'll be the case. I definitely agree on DraftKings. I think Kyrie definitely the priority, but Damian Lillard, $8,000. It's crazy to see DeJounte Murray and Chris Paul more expensive than Dame Lillard, but it's been a result of some blowouts here the last two because Dame's looked pretty darn good in both of them. Only had to play 31 minutes in those two, but they're still just rolling on this little East Coast trip. Brooklyn on the second half of a back-to-back, having played Indiana today. That'll definitely be a primetime game to be watching. Going down a little bit further, Brandon Goodwin kind of gets off the board for me if you get Trae Young obviously in. Chris Dunn has played 13 and 14 minutes, which is enough to cut into a guy like Goodwin. Probably don't need to be going that direction, even though he played 32 minutes, only put up 7.6. Okay, not that anybody was going to be playing that name anyway. I guess the one guy I want to ask you about, and somebody that I thought would maybe step up a little bit offensively, was Delon Wright. He hasn't really done anything getting De'Aaron Fox out of there. It's definitely been Tyrese Halliburton. And your boy Buddy Hield has been playing pretty good too. I hate to admit it, although Sacramento sucks. They definitely have Buddy Hield playing well, but 5,200 on both sides. Do you have any desire whatsoever to play a low-owned Delon Wright against LA?
Going to be tough. It's a big enough slate where I think I'll feel more confident taking chances on other players, but I'd rather, to be honest, I feel more confident spending those extra thousands of dollars to Buddy Hield, just because I expect Buddy Hield to just continuously to take a bunch of shots going forward. $7,200 where we get the 3-point bonus on DraftKings. I like that quite a bit. But up top on shooting guard, Beal, if you want to pivot off of Westbrook, I think is an option, obviously, to consider. Beal has that upside in him in this Cleveland matchup. Beal was the one who outscored Westbrook by 7 fantasy points, and now if that happens yet again tomorrow, you're going to be you're going to like a lot by taking your chances on Beal.
Jaylen Brown has been. Yeah, sorry. I loved. We watched Dumb and Dumber this weekend. It was fantastic rewatching. I don't think I've seen that movie for like 10 years. I feel like having seen it 50 times in my life, but a lot. That's all I have for you. That was not funny. Here we are, shooting guard over on FanDuel. Bradley Beal, 9,400 going up against Cleveland. God, it's so many red O's sitting up there. Harden, Levine's out with COVID. Donovan Mitchell, 9K out as well. Then you've got Colin Sexton, who it's got a GTD next to him. He got that concussion, so he's questionable. If he ends up coming back against Washington, I think I would maybe take some shots on it there. Obviously, that just purely affects Darius Garland at 7,800, but over on FanDuel there, DeMar DeRozan 8,200, CJ McCollum 7,700, who hasn't really been spiking too many ceilings here of late, and then Devin Booker 7,500, tough matchup against Utah, and Halliburton 6,900. We're getting a $100 or $200 discount from the last time out when they got annihilated by Utah, and the Lakers aren't a great matchup now that Anthony Davis is back, but it's Halliburton with all the offensive opportunity. What's your interest level there? And then the rest of the top end is shooting guard.
Yeah. So talking about Beal against Cleveland, I like that quite a bit. $9,400. Spending down to a Devin Booker in a matchup versus Utah, $7,500 for Devin Booker. I like that just because his shot volumes there. I know he's not facilitating as much. We've known that this year, but $7,500 Devin Booker over there in FanDuel makes a lot of sense. If you want to pivot to guys like DeRozan and McCollum, who are in great matchups themselves as well, no issues. I think Jordan Clarkson, coming off a game where he was very disappointing with his ownership, he's going to be popular yet again in a tough Phoenix matchup. I'm not sure. It's going to be a tough decision point for me with that. Maybe I'm biting my own tongue with recency bias because he sucked, but I think I'll be like, it's one of those decisions I'll just want to be with the field type of situation. Halliburton, 6,900 versus the Lakers is fine. Marcus Smart should be done serving his suspension. I like going to him because I believe no Kemba Walker still, so he's going to get extra ball handling duty as well. And I'll be hopping off a $5,800 Gary Harris. I'll tell you that right now over there on FanDuel. That was a vintage Gary Harris game, if you want to say, the other night from him. Over there on shooting guard up top on DraftKings, these guys, Beal and Jaylen Brown. I think Jaylen Brown's a tad too expensive over there, but Drew Holiday, 7,800. With the news that Giannis didn't return today, it's a back-to-back. Man, why did they want to even risk it with him? I think we might get a Bucks super studs performance out of Middleton and Drew Holiday. So I like going to those guys. Shooting guard, 7,800, 7,900 in a great matchup versus Chicago. I like taking my chances with those Bucks. And so seeing those Bucks in a potential situation with no Giannis, really tough to uh, not love that situation and be well over the field on those two guys.
Yeah, we could get some wonky stuff from Milwaukee tomorrow. Yeah, no Giannis would definitely be gigantic for Drew and Chris Middleton. I will say it's also on a back-to-back, and we have seen multiple times this year where they just punted games with all of their dudes. That Knicks game sticks out in my brain that Saturday where it was Thanasis and Axel Toppin or whatever his name was, the guy that Axel Toupane, is that correct?
Axel Toupane, and
Yeah.
they have Jordan Nora and
It was
ton of
just
fun.
like Jordan Nwora day. Yeah, it could be something like that, but I'm hoping we get Middleton and Drew playing on the second half of this back-to-back and we don't have to deal with any of that, and we can just play like the regular dudes there. But as you said there, also throw in Dante DiVincenzo, 5,300 over on FanDuel. Wouldn't mind getting to a little bit of that, although that's just never an exciting play by any means. But the rebounding rate goes up enough. 4,800 on DraftKings, definitely more appealing. Anybody else? Or are you ready to move along to small forward?
I'm ready to move on to small forward.
Me too. Bradley Beal, 9,800 up there on DraftKings. Jaylen Brown, 8,800, who, again, they're both shooting guard, small forward eligible. Jaylen Brown, just two massive ceilings back-to-back. That's kind of nifty. San Antonio, not a bad matchup. DeMar DeRozan, small forward only over on DraftKings. We talked about him a little at shooting guard on FanDuel. And then Chris Middleton, who you had already brought up. So let's go down to Buddy Hield and Tobias Harris. Kind of that next little string right there. 7,200, Buddy Hield. That's a gigantic number that I probably won't be paying this time around, even though I've been taking shots there. Tougher Lakers matchup. And then Tobias Harris going there, 37.25. Only had to play 26 minutes against Atlanta, but if those minutes get up into the 30s, 7,100, there's room on that price tag. Just maybe not my favorite spot. Talk to me about small forward.
Yeah, top in the small forward over there on DraftKings, pulling up their salaries. We got Beal and Jaylen Brown, who already have small forward eligibility. DeRozan in matchup versus Boston, $8,300. We like his shot volume. Tobias Harris, 7,100. That price is priced in a spot where he can pay out that price tag. We've seen him be the better fantasy producer of late than Simmons, as Simmons is falling off the earth. But tough not to take your chances on a Chris Middleton small forward position. You want to pivot to Buddy Hield in a matchup versus the Lakers. I expect him to take around 20 shot attempts. And maybe 20 shot attempts might be a little too high, maybe high teen shot attempts, but 3-point bonus for him at $7,200. Pretty solid in my opinion. Other guys, the Utah value is going to be interesting in a tough Phoenix matchup. It's going to be a situation where you have to make your decision off of ownership. And if you want to spend down, we saw Devin Vassell start the game last time for Derrick White, who will be out for the year. He's only $3,100, played 25 minutes, got 18 fantasy points. On a slate of this size, you would like him to play a little bit more minutes and obviously get the fantasy production up to in the mid-20s potentially to pay off that side for tournament winning upside. But he took 10 shots in those 25 minutes. You're going to like that quite a bit. So I think that's where I kind of stand with him. And other guys that will open up for the small forward spot, and maybe Pat Connaughton becomes more interesting if there's no Giannis, priced at $3,600. But over there on FanDuel, it's going to be Chris Middleton, $7,200, probably one of the highest owned players on the slate. I love pairing him with Buddy Hield at $7K. I think Bogdan Bogdanovic, if we get him to play with no Trae Young, definitely in play. He is the better Bogdanovic, obviously, out of the two. And he's been balling of late with no Trae Young. I like taking my chances with him. In Hachimura, Patrick Williams, if you want to spend down, make for good value options over there on the small forward spot. $4,100 and $3,500. Makes a lot of sense to take your chances there.
Yeah, and Mo Harkless too, 3,600. You can throw them in the bucket of guys that play minutes. You never know how productive they're going to be, but they're cheap enough where you can definitely take some shots. I think they'd rather be – they're kind of like the product of the slate where small forward just isn't the prettiest position, with the exception on FanDuel of Kevin Durant. On DraftKings, it's just kind of tough, like 9,800 for Beal against Cleveland, Jaylen Brown's now 8,800. DeRozan's 8,300. DraftKings much more difficult. Whereas on FanDuel, at least you have Durant, should he play on this back-to-back against Portland. And then Jaylen Brown, I guess, a little bit more doable, 8,500 over there where you have to play two. But as you said, Chris Middleton, he'll be the super chalk of the position if Giannis is no longer able to go here. It's just so funny to see that Cedi Osman's up to 5,700, but he's up against Washington. Not probably going to be the play for us. Am I right about that, Rinpack?
Not the play that I'll be going on a 10-game slate, I'll tell you that.
I'm going to listen to you because you're very good at DFS. So to the top end of Power 4 we go. You didn't even enjoy that. You just went back to your phone. You hate me. You hate me. No, it's fine. I'm giving you crap. Congratulations, by the way. Commencement today. Commencement. You're a big graduate, aren't you?
Yeah. It was a interesting time going to grad school during the pandemic, as my first for 1.5 semesters was in person, and then obviously everything went to Zoom University. But interesting times, obviously, all around the world, and we went through it I went through it as a grad student. So everyone has their own story, and this one was mine.
I started working at Awesemo.com. For better or worse for some people, but I think it's worked out pretty well for me, and I'm enjoying it, having a blast kicking it with my dude. But anywho, congratulations. Just wanted to throw that out there. It was the seamless transition between small forward and power forward that just made sense to bring it up. I have no idea. It just occurred to me. So congrats, my dude. Giannis 11,300 up there on power forward at FanDuel. Anthony Davis 9,500. Again, yeah, if Giannis isn't going to be playing, Anthony Davis becomes very, very intriguing. 31 minutes, put up 47. We're going to see those minutes trend up against Sacramento. Like, good luck, Rashawn Holmes. Good luck, Metu. Good luck to them trying to contain a guy like Anthony Davis. Jason Tatum 9,400. Tobias Harris then 6,900. Huge drop off between the top end all the way down to Tobias at 6,900. Talk to me about the top end of power forward.
Yeah, it's Anthony Davis, and that's it. Anthony Davis should smash in this matchup. 30 minutes of Anthony Davis, he could put up 60 fantasy points against these Kings. Gotta love 80 in this spot. How can you not? I love saving off of him if Giannis were to play, saving off of Tatum. He just makes for a great option on both sides, and especially FanDuel, where we have the roster too. Anthony Davis is going to be a priority play for me, just because I'm always above the field with him. It's probably burned me more times than not this season, but man, he's got to pan out, and why not in the matchup versus the Kings? Love that. Love going to AD tomorrow for sure. Other guys who in the power forward spot stand out. Everyone's kind of priced appropriately outside of Anthony Davis, in my opinion. Georges Niang entered the starting lineup, was great. Put up 31 fantasy points, was really played really well. He makes for a great option as a spun down. If you were to start again, I know it'll be a tough Lakers matchup, and maybe he has to guard AD, which might not work out for him, but at that price tag, you'll take your chance. He's not going to be guarding AD. He's going to be in a matchup versus Phoenix, which is going to be not the easiest sort of matchup. Other guys, if you want to spend down on power forward, we saw Jeff Green be great. We'll see what happens with Alize Johnson. He's the min, and we'll see what Brooklyn does after coming off 32 minutes and going 20 and 21 against Indiana, which happens to be his former team, if you didn't know. Now matchup versus Portland. I do not expect him to put up 55 again, but I do expect him to be in a rotation minutes of some sort. But he's the mint, which opens things up on a 10-game slate. I do think his ownership will be over-exaggerated, over-owned, just because of the monster performance that he put up today. And other guys over there on DraftKings, really tough. No one really stands out with a ton of interest for me over there on DraftKings. But if you want to spend down over there on power forward on FanDuel, Davis Bertans 4,100. I like taking some chances with him. And in a matchup against Milwaukee, there's got to be a time Lauri Markkanen's going to get hot and pay off a $3,800 price tag.
No,
in 25 minutes.
There's not. King Lowry is no longer a thing. It is now King Alize Johnson. That is what it is. We are looking at Alize Johnson at the min as the super chalk of the slate, concerning he just put up Well, first of all, he played 32 minutes out of the middle of nowhere. He played 32 minutes on March 24th against Utah, but I'm pretty sure nobody was in that game from what I remember. That was like the day that there was no Durant, no Harden, no anybody. Maybe Harden played, but from what I'm remembering, that was the last time. Today, 32 minutes, 20 points, 21 rebounds. So just be ready to go. He is your cash game power forward. What a time to be alive. But yeah, Anthony Davis, 9,500 on that top end. That'll be a very, very popular pairing. But I want King Laurie to be good. 3,800 over there, 25 minutes. Maybe he can spark it. Okay, maybe I'm going to have some shares. I pulled the trigger a little quick on you. I apologize. It's just that Niang's sitting there for 200 more, 26 minutes, 28.6, and he's good at basketball. So I like to roster good basketball players when I can, but I do understand the play for sure. You ready to round this out, my dude? Yes.
That should be onto the center spot we go.
Oh man, live sweating as we're going here. I was just going through trying to see if there was anything that avoided the minefields. I have one awesome lineup on FanDuel, but it has Armani Brooks, so it's completely dead and whatever else. But Drew Holiday in the middle of a 60-plus burger. Kevin Porter Jr. just got to 70. What a time to be alive. To the center position, rounding it out on the top end on DraftKings, Joel Embiid is sandwiched between Giannis Antetokounmpo and Nikola Vucevic there at 10-2. 10-2 right there. Joel Embiid, though, 10,200 against Atlanta. Only played 25, 23, 27 minutes the last three because all Philly has done is play these lopsided games, and he got hurt in the Milwaukee one where they were going to be blown out there anyway. They ended up losing by 7 only in that game, but won by 31, won by 44 last time out. So Joel Embiid 10-2 feels like a little bit of a discount if that game were to stay closer against Atlanta. Yeah, that'd be a really good thing for him. Vucevic 10-1 now. Finally got that ceiling game, 58.5 over on DraftKings in 37 minutes. Looks pretty darn good up against Milwaukee there if there's going to be no Giannis. Anthony Davis, 9,100. Oh, Vooch has a red Q, but he's probable. Okay, good to know. And then Clint Capella, last guy to bring up, who's questionable. If we get him off the floor, having had him play against Philadelphia yesterday, only played 24 minutes in that absolute, like, they got murdered. But if Clint Capella sits, that becomes John Collins. That becomes a lot of these other guys that we've been looking at. Kung Wu for sure, but Clint Capella, at least 8,700 is a little bit of a discount, and he will need to be out there to stop Joel Embiid if he can play. Talk to me about the top end of center.
Top end of center is going to be interesting with no Jokic, no Cat like we had today, but up there we have Valanciunas in a pretty solid matchup against Orlando. I like going to Valanciunas at that price tag, but there's Embiid. The opportunity cost tomorrow will be Embiid in a pretty solid matchup, in my opinion. So I like taking my chances with Embiid. I know if Bogdanović is going to play, the game has a potential to stay closer. The team is playing each other on back-to-back games, so potentially we'll get 30-plus minutes of Embiid, and there's obviously an upside of him being the highest-scoring player in the slate. Vooch was great the other time out. The offense is going through Vooch as they rightfully should. He's 9K in a matchup versus Milwaukee with no Giannis. It should be fun to get some Vooch in your life. And Andre Drummond versus Sacramento, I think his price tag is low enough, 7,500, 7,300, where you can take some chances. He only played 20 minutes the other night, but we'll see what ends up happening with Drummond's minutes. In tournaments only, I like taking some chances with Drummond. If he's going to find a way to play 30 minutes, it could definitely happen. And other guys who have clear tournament winning upside, Jared Allen, the matchup versus Washington. We saw what he did the other night when he played Washington, 56.5 fantasy points. We'll take that, but I don't expect that sort of efficient fantasy performance from him, but he has that upside is what I'm trying to indicate here. And how do you feel about going to Alex Lynn again? He's gone north of 30. He's gone 34 and 35 fantasy points last 2 games at 25 and 23 minutes. He's still sub 4K over there on DraftKings. How do you feel about Alex Lynn?
I feel better seeing back-to-back 23 and 25 minutes, but the problem is that you get Robin Lopez back in the mix there, who I believe he was out one of the 2 games, I think. He played 9 minutes against the Lakers here. Let's see, the 25th, was that the game? So he's out the 26th. So here you go. Robin Lopez was out on that game, the 26th. He played 9 minutes there against Cleveland, and it was just kind of messy. Or against San Antonio there on the 26th. 28th there, you had Gafford, Lynn, and Lopez that were all going to be there holding hands. It's going to be very strange. So, like, Alex Lynn has to get a lot done even at 3,300. It's an 8-game slate, as you said. I think we'll have enough value. Alize Johnson, that's kind of the 3K du jour, I think, tomorrow. If we can expect anything close to 25, 30 minutes out of him again, he kind of showed out again tonight. But, yeah, I could probably get on some Alex Lynn. I'm probably okay with that. It's just so strange seeing Daniel Gafford, who had been spiking some of these upsides. It could just as easily be a night where he ends up getting to 27 minutes, and then you're going to need him, and it becomes such a messy situation with that front court. I think Robin Lopez being back in maybe makes me a little bit apprehensive because he's going to play those 9-10 minutes, and it just caps your upside. But at 3,300 on DraftKings, where you can play two centers, certainly I'm all right with that. I can see where you're coming from there. DeAndre Jordan didn't start tonight. I'm assuming that's because they're going to end up having to run him out there tomorrow, possibly. I would think maybe against Nurkic and Kanter. That would make some sense on a back-to-back there. So at 4K, if you were to end up in the starting lineup, that's at least somebody that I would consider up there too. Anybody else on this cheap end? Because again, the opportunity cost of center is just always massive.
Yeah, not so much on the cheap end. I think in that same game, going to Nurkic in a matchup versus Brooklyn will be very contrarian at $7,700 on FanDuel, $7,100 on DraftKings. Definitely someone who has a huge upside, in my opinion. Had played some great basketball in closer games over the past week, and obviously Portland has been playing sensational, and they just haven't needed him to play many minutes. This game somehow stays close. He finds a way to 30-plus minutes. It could be a Nurkic explosion spot, and that's when he definitely can pay off that price tag. That's really about it on the center spot. Maybe news will open some things up. Unlikely. And you can play Anthony Davis at center. So that's another great option as well.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Anthony Davis, big fan. Andre Drummond, 7,300 against them too. Got to 37.2 in 20 minutes. It's just crazy. But not getting the run you would kind of expect at this point in time. Rinpack, we flew through that 8-gamer for sure. Any final words for the people now that you're a big graduate and know everything?
No, thanks so much for yet again tuning in this week. And we'll catch you over the weekend. But that's honestly about it. Huge 10-game slate, and pay attention to news. Hopefully we can be on the other side of winning. It's been an interesting NBA DFS week for me, but hopefully we turn things around and finish strong on the work week.
Same here. For Rayen, I am Eric. Best of luck this Friday, and also good luck this weekend. We'll catch you back here on Monday. Peace out.